Hello, my name's Rachel Gardner and I'm the MSLC lead in Sheffield. I'm also an antenatal teacher and a maternity campaigner for protecting and supporting good maternal mental health. I was very honoured to be asked to speak at the Maternity Mental Health Conference at the University of Huddersfield yesterday. And I had an awful lot of notes, and I didn't get through all my notes because I kept going off on tangents. So I thought I would make you a video of all the things I wanted to pass on to you, so you can watch them at your leisure. I'll be giving you the voices of the thousands of women who've answered so openly and so truthfully in my surveys surrounding perinatal mental health. But before we go on to that, I just want to talk to you about the role of the midwife and the huge emotional impact you have on women. And in doing so, I would like to introduce you to Clara. This is my new little puppy, Clara. Hello! Now, Clara is named Clara after my midwife 5.5 years ago, who was shockingly called Clara. Clara's going to go back to sleep now. But my midwife was called Clara, and had my little boy been a girl, he would have been called Clara. But we felt Aussie probably suited him better as a boy. So I named my puppy Clara after my midwife Clara, who helped me so much when I was having my little boy. So that's the impact you have on people. So you're already off on a really good footing with women. Women seem to naturally trust and respect midwives, as they should, because you're all marvellous. So the first area I want to look at that women have said is so important in their relationship with their midwives is that of really good, strong communication. And I want to give you 2 examples surrounding the communication given to a mum by a midwife during a C-section. And both these women, different situations, but both were trying for a vaginal birth, and things went a little bit awry and they ended up having an emergency C-section. And I want to tell you what the women said they felt. So the first lady said, "Suddenly things went wrong. I needed an emergency C-section. Suddenly all communication stopped and I didn't know what was happening to me anymore. I thought I had failed." Second quote, similar situation, different experience. And the lady said, "I needed an emergency C-section, but my midwife really quickly explained to my partner and me what was happening and why this was needed. It helped me understand and get my head round it. I felt a part of the decision." The first lady, the lady who said all communications stopped and that she thought she had failed, she went on to describe the birth of her baby as a very negative experience, quite a traumatic experience. And she says that she feels she can pinpoint the decline in her mental health to that moment, the moment when she went for a C-section, she didn't understand why, and she thought she had failed. The second lady, who had it explained to her and felt that she was still a part of the decision and still in control, went on to describe her birth in a very positive way. That example shows how incredibly important communication is. That 10-second conversation could have completely and utterly changed the lady's birth experience, her perception of what was happening and how she was feeling. I don't know that had the first lady had a similar conversation that would have changed things for her, but the fact that she said all communication stopped shows how important that communication was to her. Communication is so important, and so much of the time people say, "Oh well, it goes without saying," and no, it doesn't. If you have something nice to say or you have information to convey, say it, convey the information. Always in life, but particularly in your role as a midwife. Let your mums and dads know what's happening. Let them feel part of the process. Let them feel that you respect them enough to communicate to them what is happening. So we've had an example of communication during a birth. What about during your community visits? So, for example, in the early visits with a mum who's recently pregnant, midwives ask how the mum is feeling to try and gauge if there are any problems with their anxiety or low mood or any signs of antenatal depression. When you're asking these questions, you're asking the mum to reveal something quite scary. You're asking them to be incredibly honest, and sometimes it's hard to be really incredibly honest with somebody you don't know very well. So think about the way you're asking it. And here are a few quotes from mums to give you an insight into how they're feeling. My midwife asked how I was feeling, but I lied to her. She was just sat behind a big pile of papers ticking boxes. There wasn't even a pause for me to talk. I couldn't tell my midwife how I was feeling. I was too scared. My midwife was lovely, but when she just asked if I'd been feeling low, I had to just say no. I didn't want my midwife thinking I was a bad mum. I didn't want her to take my baby away, so I lied. I lied about how I was feeling. I could barely tell myself, let alone another woman. Those quotes from women really show how hard it is for a woman who's struggling to tell another woman, to tell a midwife, to tell themselves that they're struggling and they need help. So think about the way you ask. And if somebody were to just say to you, how are you feeling? Have you had any low mood? You're probably going to go, oh, no, I'm fine, thanks. But if somebody was to say to you, a lot of people are struggling when they're going through what you're going through. It's quite hard, isn't it? And sometimes people feel low mood and anxiety. A lot of my mums have said that. Have you experienced any low mood or anxiety? When you ask it like that, you're giving the mums a way in. You're letting them say, well, actually, yeah, it can be a little bit hard, isn't it? You're letting them think, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not a bad person for feeling like this. Other people feel like this. So I think that's a really good way of getting the truth from mums and also communicating to them, you aren't alone. This does happen. It can be quite hard sometimes. In all the research I've done on perinatal mental health, and the thousands and thousands of women and men who've answered my surveys, over a variety of different surveys, the overriding thing that comes across is the loneliness that mums feel when they're experiencing low mood or anxiety or postnatal depression or post-traumatic stress disorder from a birth. That loneliness is incredibly hard for them to bear. So as a midwife, for you to say to your women, you aren't alone, people do feel like this. This isn't you failing. This isn't something being wrong with you. This is you struggling like thousands and thousands and thousands of other women who are struggling right now. You are in such a good position to break the taboos of maternal mental health, to get women to talk about it, to talk to women about it. Prepare women, support women, protect women. That's your role, and it's a fabulous role. I want to give you now a few quotes from women who really felt listened to by their midwives, who had that good, strong communication with their midwives. So here are a few quotes from them. And all these women did say that they had been struggling with their mental health, and this is how they felt about their midwives. I felt like my midwife really listened. I could talk to her. I trusted my midwife. She told me that the way I was feeling was okay and I wasn't a bad mother. The relief I felt was tremendous. I talked to my midwife, but she listened, she heard me, she saved me. What powerful words these are. If I could give one piece of advice to new mums, it would be talk to your midwife. That is when I started to feel better. Those are incredibly powerful, positive words. And we're not saying that a quick conversation with a midwife and being understood and being listened to is going to make everything better, but it's going to make things a little bit better. It's going to give a little bit of relief, and it's going to give women hope that things can get better, and the big thing of that they're not alone, and that's so important. The last thing I want to talk to you about communication is about throwaway lines, and it's very, very easy to make a casual remark or an off-the-cuff remark that you don't really think about, but because you're in such a powerful position and with such an emotional topic of a baby and pregnancy and birth, your words matter. Every single word could have a great effect on your mums and your dads. So be really careful about what you say. And also, try and think about what's being heard. You might be wanting to convey one message, but make sure it can't be misinterpreted. And that's incredibly hard to do. And I'm asking for a near impossible thing. You can't control the way other people perceive you, but you can be thoughtful and mindful about the way you speak. Now, before I risk boring you, and I hope I haven't bored you so far, I'm going to stop at just having talked to you about communication, and I'm going to do another video in a couple of days about antenatal education and your role in that. And I'm not particularly meaning classes, I'm meaning in your role of midwife antenatally, you're in a position to inform and educate mums and dads. So we'll talk about that, and I also want to talk a bit more about compassion and kindness. So that's all for now, and I hope that's been useful to you.